This is Alexandra Villarroel Abrego and welcome to another episode of AlexandraTV. This week's episode is an interview with the beautiful and intelligent Shannon T. Boodram. Shannon is a clinical sexologist, a sexual education expert, and the author of the book Laid. So as you can imagine, this week's episode is about sex. With Shannon, we had a very honest and open conversation about sexuality and mostly about sexuality today. So sex when it comes to Generation Y. So how does Generation Y see and view sex? So you definitely don't want to miss this interview. So without any further ado, let's begin. Hello, Shannon. How are you? So nice to see you. Thank you so much for taking the time to do this today.
So do I call you Alex or Ali? Like, do you prefer the full name?
Alex. You can call me Alex. A lot of people call me Alex. So you can definitely call me. And you, is it Shannon? I see your Skype, it's Shabu. Should I call
Shabu. It's Shan Booty, Shabu, Shan Booty. It's in that same section of letters.
I'll use them all in this interview. I'll try. So thank you again for being here. So we're both Generation Y ladies. We're the millennials. And as women in this generation, we face a lot of, I guess if I can say like that, a lot of misconceptions. There's a lot of misconceptions in this generation when it comes to sex and sexuality. So since you're an expert, we're going to talk a little bit about that. Before doing the interview, of course, today I was taking a look at your channel and I saw you started this series called Sensual Sessions. I don't know if you're going to continue the videos, but I really like them because you talk a little bit about the difference between sexuality and sensuality. And I think that in this day and age that we're living in, there's a lot of sexuality. Everything is, I think in English it's hypersexualized. Is that? Okay, because I'm more French, so I'm never too sure about words. Sometimes I try to translate them and then it doesn't make sense. But hypersexualized. And I think there's issues when it comes to that. So talk a little bit about what is your take on that? What is the difference between sensuality and sexuality? And why do you think people misunderstand this in today's world and generation?
Sensuality is just finding pleasure in every single moment. So a sensual person finds fun, finds pleasure, is in touch with their body, is in touch with how they're feeling, and it isn't necessarily sexual. Because you can be sensually drinking tea, just allowing the water to come down your throat and enjoying it. Like, you can sensually do anything, but it isn't necessarily directly related to a sexual act. Whereas in sexual are things that are of and or related to sex, the specific act themselves. So I think sensuality is a way of life. So is sexuality. Some women like to be hypersexual all the time. Me personally, when I was kind of coming into my journey of womanhood, I was very afraid of sexualization. Sexualization just really made me uncomfortable. I didn't want people to talk to me certain ways. I didn't want to be looked at certain ways. So sensuality was much more inviting to me and a better fit for my personality.
Right. You talk about your journey. Share with us a little bit, especially for the people who don't know about you, and this is maybe the first time that they're watching you. How did you get to write your first book, Laid? How did you get to also become a clinical sexologist? So talk a little bit about your journey so that people get to know you a little more.
Oh, by the way, nice rock.
It's what?
Your ring.
Oh, thank you.
So tell me more about.
I always do that, but I don't do it. That's terrible. Now I have to hide it the whole time.
It's beautiful.
Thank you.
I think I have a journey that a lot of women can relate to, which is sort of the yin-yang, push-pull, back-and-forth journey into coming into their sexuality. At a very young age, I was very sexual. Like, I used to undress my Barbies. I remember having my first sexual experience at age 6 with one of my classmates. It was a girl. But I just remember just always being very curious and very open about my sexuality. And of course, those things were very negatively enforced. I was told I was not allowed to have naked Barbies. That was a rule in my house because they were always undressed. And I got in trouble for that experience that I had. And so I just kind of learned to quiet it down. And then as I got into my preteen years, I was, again, very sexually precocious. I wanted to learn more. I wanted to feel and touch. And I was ashamed, so I kind of pressed it down. And so it was this back and forth all the time. And when I was finally into my teens, I was very conservative until I wasn't conservative. And then I was really promiscuous. And then I hated myself for being promiscuous. And then I didn't really enjoy being conservative. And so it was this constant who am I? Where am I? How do I figure this out? Because I enjoy this or I'm curious about it, but I don't know enough. And whatever it is that I try to gather information, I feel like I'm being shunned for doing so. So I essentially wrote Laid when I was 19 years old, and I had gone away to college in Baltimore. And at that time, I was on a track scholarship, and I was amongst girls all the time. So when we were finally like, we trained together, we traveled together, we did study hall together, and then we started to have these honest conversations about sex. Because prior to that, it was all lies. I lied to my family and parents, I lied to my school, I lied to my friends, like I overhyped it, or I lied to my conservative friends and told them I didn't like it. So I was always just lying about, and lying to myself. And it was really having these honest conversations with women. I was like, okay, I'm not alone. And just that thought, for something that had been such a very troubling part of my life, to know that there are other people who are experiencing it, I'm like, okay, maybe if I feel this way and I've gone through this struggle and I have never been able to find the truth, between the media, like you said, that over-sexualizes and over-hypes everything, and traditional education, which minimizes and uses scare tactics, there was nothing in between there that really reflected my sexual experience. So I was inspired to write Laid, which was just a vicarious learner's approach to sex education that was written by people in our generation, from the millennials who were like, okay, here's what I experienced. Here's the honest account of what I went through. Learn from it what you will. And this is how this experience changed me going forward. And that's kind of been my whole approach to sex education. And it didn't even end there, because even after I started writing Laid, I then got a full-time job, and the shame came back in. So when I got a publisher's deal, I was honestly not really that excited about it, because I'm like, I kind of don't really want to be the Laid girl anymore. Like, because it took 4 years to get a deal. So during that time, I really kind of gone back and forth the same way I did with my younger years. And then so getting the clinical sexologist was really when I was like, you know what? Fuck this. I really enjoy talking about sex. I really think that I have a niche here. I really think that what I do is important. Fuck shame. Fuck the fact that my parents aren't cool with it and everything else. Like, no more of this back and forth. I'm going back to school. I'm going to get the education necessary, and I'm going to be great at this because I think it's necessary. And that's where we are today.
It is very necessary. And I think, like you said, there's sometimes no in between. So I think it's amazing that you do this, and I really respect that, because there's a lot of, like I said, there's a lot of shame that comes with it. So there's a lot of judgment also that comes with it, especially for women. I think it's more accepted for men to talk about these topics, but when it comes to a woman, it's like everyone's like, ooh. And for me, I'm very traditional. I'm very conservative. I'm very I did a video not too long ago on my channel called The Sacred Womb, and I talk about how what you put into your body is very sacred, as well as the kind of man that you let enter your body. But still, I think that it's very important that we talk about these things. And like you said, that you had some women that you could have honest conversations with them about these topics, and that's really what I want to have with you today. So I really congratulate you for that. It's really amazing that you do that. In your book Laid, can you share like one story that what is the story that kind of surprised you, if I can say it like that, the most? Do you have one? Because I'm curious about people of our generation. What is it that would be the most surprising thing that happened, or story?
Yeah, I mean, the great about Laid is it kind of taught me something twofold, in that like sex is kind of different for our. Can you hear me still?
I can hear you. Yes.
Oh, it just got all quiet for a good thing. Okay. So sex is very different for our generation. A lot of variables have changed, but by and large, the acts are still the same. Like, since the Stone Ages, we're still doing the same thing. So there was a story about a girl who had a train run on her, which is like gangbang, or when you have several sexual partners in one night and you are the sole, female in that circumstance. Yeah. So I had heard a story while I was in high school that was just like this, about a girl who a bunch of guys on the football team ran a train on her, and then she turned around and claimed it was rape. And everybody in the school really got down on her and chastised her and guilted her, and was like, you just changed your story because you got embarrassed, and you wanted it. And I think I was either a part of that kind of vibrato, or I wasn't. I definitely wasn't a voice of reason or the opposer. Yeah. And so I got a story submitted to me about a girl who had the exact same thing happen to her. Hers was in like a small rural town in like Nova Scotia, and how it really ruined her life. And genuinely, she didn't want it. And it really changed my perspective on, what consent was. And from that point on, I became very curious, like, what is consent? How does consent work? And, what are some other situations that maybe I have just looked at like the woman's fault, where really she never said yes or signed up for that, so how can the blame be put on her? So that was probably the most powerful story to me, and definitely one that to this day I still talk about, I still share, and still has motivated so much of what I do.
Yeah, and that's very important because when we talked about sexuality and sensuality, I think that all women are very sensual, and a lot of times men are gonna mistake that for being like a yes, and even we're sexual beings at the end of the day. So I think that unfortunately sometimes men are gonna think that it's okay to do this and to do that. When you talk about this, gangbang and all these things, I think in this generation we grew up with porn, right? So we grew up really when we were teens, porn was there. I remember having not too long ago a conversation with a friend of mine who is 14 years older than I am, and he was saying how when he was a teenager, porn didn't exist. It wasn't even there. And he still remembers this story of him after work. He was 21, after work, going with his friends to a bar, and there were girls there, and girls were talking about how they were shaving and waxing down there, and how they liked when a man would also trim it down there, right? And he was so funny because he's like, I swear, he's like, all the guys would just looked at each other, and we knew that after that evening we were gonna go all separately to our houses, and we were gonna like shave our balls. That's what he said, because he was like, I didn't know that that's what women wanted, because porn didn't exist. We didn't see that. So how do you think that porn influences today's sexuality, and especially in the stories that you have in your book? Have you read any stories about how sometimes men or even women, we pretend to like something that we don't really like just because we've seen it in a porn movie? Has it also happened to you? I think that as women we have this pressure of being like freaks, all the time doing everything that we see in porn movies, when sometimes we don't even necessarily like or enjoy that. So what is your take on that?
Does it sound crazy?
It's a little bit crazy, yeah.
I hate Skype.
I know. I swear, me too. I was doing an interview a few days ago. I don't know if you know her on Skype, Till Swan. She's a spiritual catalyst.
Yeah.
She's really amazing. And we were doing this interview, and we were having so many issues with Skype. Every time it would freeze, we were like, why is this happening? But anyways, can you hear me now? And
better now. It was like we drove through a tunnel that got windier and windier, and then all of a sudden we came out of the tunnel and life was better.
Out of
like
the tunnel, yeah.
Those things remind you, like, no, it's still 2016, not 2060, and
Yeah.
we're not there yet.
We're not there yet. Yeah.
Not there yet. We're like kind of on the way there, but we're not there. I have mixed emotions when it comes to porn. I think the problem is that our education system has not evolved, but our access to porn has definitely evolved, like you said. So as a result of that, a lot of people are not getting the balance they need, because people need to be taught about porn the same way they're taught about wrestling. It's not real. Like, you need to have that education with somebody, and then when you know what real fighting is, or what real defense is, or what it really means to hurt somebody and break their neck, then you can watch wrestling with a grain of salt, because you're like, I understand that this is not real. But we don't get that education because we're waiting so long to talk to our kids about sex. When we do talk about sex, we're not talking about what interests them, or we're just trying to scare them off. And so naturally they gravitate to porn as their educator. And porn is a male-saturated industry. And it is that way because men are more visual. Scientifically, men just get more aroused by genitals. The porn industry is a multi-billion-dollar industry for men. For women, it's almost non-existent. So they have the say in what porn looks like. So when you have a singular dominated perspective on what sex is, the other people involved, the other half of the population, their perspective gets left out. And that's unfortunate, because a lot of men grow up thinking that porn is what works for women, or that's how to have good sex. I have this conversation all the time with guys who are like, yeah, I know what to do. I watch a lot of porn. And I'm like, like,
are you serious?
But that's so real. And there will be guys right now watching this video who are like, but wait, no, that's how I learn. I
know everything.
I had that spin move it taught me. Like, don't forget, porn is for you. It is your fantasy. It is your visual projection. It is marketed for men. It's not what's reflected on women. So it's great because people have access to, I guess, an outlet for sexual stimulation, and it's entertaining and all the above. But it's not so great because if people aren't taught that it's fake, then a lot of people end up with really shitty sex lives.
Absolutely. But do you think that, because again, I remember that this was a past relationship that I had, and I think I just like, I just spent time with people who are much older. But in my past relationship, he was 20 years older than I was. And I remember, oh, this is very private, this is very personal, but I'm just gonna, for the sake of this conversation, yeah, we were, after we finished the coitus, after we finished having sex, basically, I told him, oh, you can do this to me. I'm not going to say exactly what, but I said, you can do this to me. I don't mind. And I remember him, and that was like the moment I was like, oh my God, this is incredible. Because he was like, why would I do that to you? He's like, you're too beautiful and I respect you too much to do that to you. And this was a man who, of course, did not grow up with porn, who, of course, didn't watch porn. And I was so amazed at how I was like, and it got me thinking, because I remember my first boyfriend that I ever had, he watched a lot of porn, and we tried everything that he would see in porn movies, and I would pretend to really like it just to please him. And he I don't know if he thought that this was, that this was pleasurable for him, and perhaps that got me thinking that situation, maybe even men, because they watch porn, they think that, oh, I am supposed to like this, so I should do this, and this is supposed to give me pleasure. But maybe in actuality, it doesn't even give them that much pleasure. They're just doing it for as an act. What do you think about that?
I'm trying to guess what that act is the whole time you're talking. I'm like, shot pearl necklace. What's she talking about? I'm gonna go with money shot for 300. But I think, yeah, it does. It puts a lot of pressure on both. I mean, both men to perform in that way. And I actually wrote an article about this recently that was a lot of men who it's a performance. There's no genuineness to it. Like, you're missing that. I actually have a sexual partner right now who's new and fantastic. And he grew up not watching porn. And he is like, sometimes when he's doing certain things to me, I look at his face and he looks like a painter, or a violinist. Like, he's just so into the moment and into his work. Nothing about what he does is inauthentic. It's so real and it's so refreshing. And I forget that, it's real. Like, we're really experiencing each other's bodies. We're really in this moment together, and we're not just here for this play,
Exactly.
You're not supposed to pretend to be this barbaric, masculine, macho, grunting man. And I'm not supposed to be this damsel in distress who screams, with every stroke. We're real people in a real act, and sometimes porn strips us of that reminder that this is not a play, And that's the thing is, when you make sex a play, it can be very disappointing because it's real life, There's smells involved, there's awkward sounds, there's slips. There's mishaps, there's a lot of weird things that can happen. So if you're not there for the authentic experience, it probably is a lot more disappointing. So I encourage everyone to sort of really take a step back from that. I'm not going to knock porn because, again, it's an industry bigger than Shannon Boodram will ever be. So I'm not going to try to go up against it, but because it's a great form of entertainment. But when you start to take it too literal, I mean, it can really have a lot of damaging effects on women.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, also in your videos, I saw that you talk about the 3 ways to reach orgasm. Can you share that with us? And can you explain, especially for women, basically, especially to the men who are watching, how they can help women reach orgasms in each different way? And can a woman be all 3 of them also?
Yes. So I think the most important thing to start off by saying is that when we are a little germ cell, a little zygote, and when we're growing, we all start off making the same formations as a woman. So it isn't until the 14-week phase that actually the testicles or the ovaries develop, but it's pretty much all anatomically the same. There's a yin and there's a yang, okay? So our bodies are not drastically different. Right. So all that happens is the clitoris rests like this under the skin, and if there is an XY chromosome and you are meant to be a man, it extends out and becomes the penis. So the glands of the clitoris is identical to the glands or head of the penis. So that is our dick, okay? We're not expected. There's no... The vagina and the penis work in a lock and key situation, but the anatomical twin to the penis is the clitoris, which is outside of the vagina at the very top of where the labia minora meet, and it's a small head that's usually covered by foreskin, just like the man, which is called the clitoral hood. So most women orgasm through stimulation of the clitoris, not through penetration. The clitoris is shaped like a wishbone, so it goes underneath the skin again, so because it comes up. So the actual ends of it are like this, and they wrap around the urethra. So you can reach like the ends of the clitoris by going into the vagina and pressing up. It's like on an angle, and there's a spongy tissue. Only when women are aroused can this really be accessed, and you can achieve pleasure that way. However, again, most women need both. Like, they need their clitoris stimulated. And I always say, like, for men, for as many men who have had a prostate orgasm in their life, are as many women who experience just a G-spot orgasm in their life. Like, it's not, you need both couplings. And so stress that all the time. Penetration is a great partner activity. It can be pleasurable for a lot of reasons. More than likely, it's not going to be how women get off. And women who do get off through penetration, it's usually because there was stimulation of the clitoris during, or they were rubbing up against the pubic bone or something. So that's important to know. So you can orgasm through the G-spot, which is like, again, it's a difficult angle to get to for the penis because it's like an angle in like this. So they usually send you the come here motion. Yeah. But you can, through fingering. You can obviously orgasm through the clitoris many, many, many times. And then it's important to not forget the third way, which is I still have orgasms in my sleep sometimes. Like, I can be asleep and dreaming of an act, and that happens. And what that lets you know is that mentally you can do a lot. You can orgasm through nipple stimulation. You can orgasm many different ways. Like, it's just, an orgasm is a series of contractions of nerve endings that ends in like a release and like a refractory period. So mentally, if you're really into an act, anything is possible. But however, my thing I always say is, if you rub the lamp, the genie will come out. And the lamp is the clitoris. So if you're curious, like, how do I make a woman orgasm? Like, 9 out of 10 times, just go there. The rest of them are like variables. They may or may not happen. If they do, great. If they don't sweat it. Go to the clit. Shit will probably happen.
That's amazing. And when it comes to the mind, I've been reading a lot of books. I don't know if you know this author, A.V.A. He's very into spirituality, but sexuality when it comes to spirituality. And he talks about that, about the mind and having orgasm through the mind. Have you ever tried, are you familiar, well, have you ever tried, that's very personal, but what about tantric sex? Are you...
Try tantric sex. I'm actually like, what's funny, and I always equate what I do to being a nutritionist.
Okay.
Because a sexologist or somebody who studies sex, I have a shit ton of books. I've watched a billion DVDs. I'm going to a class today on erectile dysfunction in a couple of hours. And I'm very well versed on the science behind sex, but nutritionists can tell you what to eat, tell you what dietary restrictions you need. They can help people with certain ailments, get to the goals that they require. However, they may not be a good chef. Okay. They may not have ever cooked any of the meals they're talking about. And I kind of look at myself like that. Like, I've been a student for a long time of sex. I'm not necessarily like somebody who's like tried every kind of lube. So I've never tried tantric sex before, and I've gone to a couple classes, and I've kind of got the principles of it, but there's definitely a lot of people who swear by it. I think at the end of the day, sex is about finding what works for you, what feels great for you. There is no absolute right principle or way or mindset, but it's a beautiful experience, something that people should definitely try. And I love the principle, though, of sending people to school to learn how to make love. Like, I wish that was a normal part of our culture.
It should be one like of the classes, I mean, in school.
Mm-hmm.
The sex education classes that they have are so, like, from what I remember, all they would do is just to give us condoms and say, you have to use condoms and these are all the STDs. And of course, it's important information, but at the end of the day, they don't teach people how to have sex or how to make love in a way, if we want to call it like that, how to really have the type of sex that you can reach orgasm and please the other person and everything. So that's really for sure important. Now, yeah.
I think it's tantric sex that they used to send boys away at like age 14 to a school to go learn how to be good lovers. And it's like so opposite in North America, where men are discouraged from seeking out any kind of sexual information or guideline. Like, if a man was caught reading a book on how to give a woman an orgasm, it would be like negatively looked upon.
Yeah, because people would say, "Oh, you don't know how to."
Exactly.
They would kind of make fun of the person, but at the end of the people who are saying like, "Oh, you don't know how to," they probably are even more clueless, you know. So at least the other person is trying to find out and to figure that out. So yeah.
It's so frustrating. It's like there's this guy that he had given me oral sex once. It was just not great, and so I let him know, like, you're not great at this. It's probably something you have to develop. And since then, he's been like, I'm just, like months have gone by, and he'll hit me up sometimes, and like, I'm just really nervous because I don't really know how to fulfill you, and like, it's just all this stuff. I'm like, why didn't you read a book during this time period? Like, there's so many. I just found an amazing video on YouTube last night that was like a clitoris tutorial, and I'm like, this is like, it was showing really graphic photos, but this is allowed on YouTube. Like, there's so much information out there, but men are just not encouraged to seek it out, which is really unfortunate. So if you're a dude and you're watching this, like, that is the sexiest thing. If I saw a guy reading She Comes First, he would have a 99.9% higher chance of having sex with me. So pick up a damn book, take a class, ask questions, watch some YouTube videos, learn about it. It's sexy. Don't worry about like not coming across macho.
No, that's true. You talked about your sexual partner, right? That you have right now. What is your take on that? Do you think it's possible for women? Since they say we're very emotional, we get attached. How do you feel about that? About being able to have, I don't know if it's just your sexual partner, but in general, what would you say to women about that? Is it possible? Because I think it's very important to, yes, we have to read about these topics and everything, but there's nothing like practice, right? And to have someone that respects you, that you respect, and that you can practice the act with, what would your advice be about that?
You need to. I'm a wizard, Sorry. I really look at myself and go, I like to see the matrix. So because of that, like having a friends with benefits situation, I am very clear on, as a woman, what I can handle and what I can't. I'm very clear on how much I contact this person, what I contact them for, the boundaries of our relationship. I'm also very clear on the person that I chose. Like, there are certain people whom I know I would never engage in a strictly sexual relationship and I knew wasn't going to flourish into more, because there are seeds inside of me that may want something more from that person. So you have to be clear on who you pick for that role. It can't be the guy that you really wanted to date, but then settled to be his fuck buddy. You'll never be satisfied in that situation. Like, women release oxytocin, a bonding chemical, every time that they have sex afterwards. And so if you already have dopamine and there's attraction and you assimilate this person as your soulmate, and the brain is saying, love this person, and on top of that, you're now releasing chemicals that you become bounded with them. Like, you're really setting yourself up for 5 miserable years, like, before you're able to get out of your system. So if you're going to do friends and benefits, you have to be very strategic about it. Like, know how much you can see that person, know how often you call. Like, it can't be like you rely on them. Like, understand that the relationship has to be yin and yang always. Like, in my situation, like, I provide a girlfriend experience in a very limited way. Like, when we are in the same space, he does activities for me, like putting up stuff on the wall or fixing things, and I might cook food. But then when we leave this space, we don't like, hey, where are you? Like, we limit the experience to like a very confined measure, and we constantly talk about it, just check in, how are you feeling? What's this? How are things going for you? And it's managing a relationship of its own, so it doesn't get away from me. So I think, like, when you're able to really be honest with yourself about what you want, and you're able to be honest with who you are and what you're able to handle, you can accomplish anything. But I definitely suggest being very strategic about that relationship, because it can go really bad.
Yeah, for sure. I think that's fascinating, because for me, honestly, I don't know if I would be able to. Like, I really don't know. I don't know. I would get more, like, I would get jealous. I would get more. I don't know if I would be able to. Do you know also, are they allowed to see someone else and whatnot?
Sure. Yeah. And I see other people too. And don't get me wrong, like, I think a lot of women are, I talk about this all the time, because men are usually the cheaters and women are always the one who are left. And even in Friends with Benefits, it's always the woman who, like, wanted more secretly and didn't get it. But it's like, that's you not really you limiting yourself to what you think you can handle or do, and not being honest with yourself. I think a lot of women think that they can't date multiple people. Yes, you can. And we all I experience jealousy still to this day, and I had to just check myself. Like, that's a useless emotion. What does that matter? Like, I was in New York last week, and I met somebody whom, like, I had a good experience at a club with. It was just like, we had met online, we met up, we had a great just time together. When I left the club, so I had to go to catch an airplane, I found myself being like, well, what if he's with another girl right now? What if this happened? And I was like, what does it matter? Like, it doesn't matter. Like, being single is about curating positive experiences that make you feel fulfilled and happy. It's not about expectations. And when you really define that for yourself, then you just appreciate the experiences for what they are without asking them to cross over. And if you want more from that experience, then ask.
Yeah, of course.
Talk about it. And if the person isn't willing to provide that, then move on before you become like committed or attached. So it's just constantly assessing and being honest. I think women think they can't. Yes, you can. Yeah. Trust me, you think like, I can't handle, being with a guy and then knowing he's calling somebody else. Yeah, you probably could if you had someone else to call to. Yeah. So if you're like, damn, I can't get a hold of this dude, he's not answering his phone. Well, I'm gonna just text this next. You'll be fine. Trust me.
Yeah, of course. That's amazing. Well, you see, I like that because on my channel, I share a lot of, of advice, of the very, very conservative advice, if I could say it like that. And a lot of people, they like that, other people don't like that, but I really like the fact that you have this advice to share, which I think is also perfect. I think it's also good. It just depends on everyone, but I think it's amazing. So thank you very much for that. Now, going back on the sexual topic, what do you think is the biggest mistake a woman can make in bed?
The biggest mistake that I've outlined in articles before is, what's the word way to put it? Coming in leading with their insecurities. Even allowing their insecurities into the bedroom. Like, when you walk into a space of being sexual, that is supposed to be your most freest, ferocious, vicious self. Like, you are a woman, hear me roar. And so when you come in thinking like, how do I hide my rolls? Do my boobs look funny? Am I making a weird sound? Does my breath smell? Does my vagina smell? Like, if you have all these thoughts in your head, you'll never have that really freeing, empowering phoenix experience that you deserve. So a lot of women I know carry their insecurities into the bedroom, and if a man or their partner even compliments them, they're quick to shut it down. Like, if he says, like, you look really sexy, you look really hot, and you're like, no, I know I have to go to the gym, I know I'm really fat right now, and it's like, you just ruin everything. Like, just shut up. Like, shut up, get out of your head. You're fucking hot. Somebody wants to have sex with you. That's why you're there, because you are amazing and you're perfect. Enjoy the experience. For that half an hour, just let all that expectation and baggage that women carry around with them, let it go. Just drop it at the door. Like, you don't have to be perfect. You don't have to be realistic. You don't have to be, the reasonable one. Just be awesome and enjoy it and love your body and let somebody else love your body.
Absolutely. And I think also men can feel it, right? I mean, I remember that a lot of men who I've heard say, the worst thing that a woman can do is to be insecure, because they can feel that, and it's not sexy, it's not fun, What about men? What is the biggest mistake a man can make in bed? Okay, so I actually did this article today. I write for the W Network. So when I first sat down to write this article, because the women's one did really well, I was like, the biggest mistake men make in the bed is forgetting about the clitoris. And then I was like, no, don't do that, because it's not about the biggest mistake they make towards women. What is the biggest mistake that men make to limit themselves sexually? And the answer to that for me is they don't verbalize or vocalize their pleasure. Yeah, that's true. I think it's really sexy when a man verbalizes his pleasure. I really like that. I think all women like that. The same way I think men like when a woman verbalizes the pleasure, right? It's like, how else will I know? Like, I'm in a long-term relationship where, like, I never thought I was good at anything, because I just never knew. And I would ask questions like, did that work for you? Did you like this? He's like, yeah, it's cool. It's like, but then, like, in the act, I wasn't really getting the response I wanted. So I'm like, this can't be good. And it was, like, just very frustrating, because I'm like, I have no idea what you like. If you like to be flicked or tickled or raped, I had zero clue which of the 10 activities he preferred. And so it was just very frustrating. I'm like, a lot of men don't talk about sex, because they don't talk about it with their friends or families. They don't have a culture of discussing their pleasure honestly. And two, because they're so limited by being macho, they're afraid to make sounds in the moment, because that's not masculine. So they're silent
rather than like, because that's a language of itself, you know, like if you make a loud sound, it's good. If you make not a sound, it's not good. Move on. So, you know, people can gauge that way. And because they don't develop a sexual language, you know, women are really lost as what to do. I mean, the opposite is women have a fake sexual language, which confuses the fuck out of people. So we make too much sound and don't make enough for us to learn how to be better for them. And they don't talk about what their kinks, fetishes, or desires are, or give tips. So the biggest mistake that men make during sex is being silent.
Yeah, and that's funny, because in relationships they say that the biggest mistake you can make is to not communicate. And you know, when it comes to sex, it's kind of the same thing. Of course, not communicating, not having conversation, but I mean, communicating how they're feeling. So I think that's really good. Now, what the last thing that I have for you before we finish, what do you think is the best thing that a woman can do, and also that a man can do in bed?
A best thing that a woman can do in bed. Do you mean like do you want a specific tip, or do you want something that's like positive?
A specific tip. I think we should go for a specific tip.
The thing that I've heard from men a lot is that for some reason, vaginally, like the actual vaginal canal, there's not a drastic difference in experience from woman to woman. Like I asked, like, are some really awesome? Are some women really great? They're like, yeah, it can be, but like by and large, it's kind of all very similar. There's not a lot of standard experiences. They say oral sex is really the way that they can tell that one woman is very different or experienced than the other one. So I would say really work on your oral sex techniques. Be experimented with that. Like, and the best word that you can use to like kind of up your game is sloppy. Like a mess. Just be a mess down there. Just make a lot of splashing sounds and make it really messy. And that will definitely help in that regard. And then also I think sexually for women, don't fake it or lie. Be authentic when you are having actual sex. And that could be like, if you're not experiencing orgasmic pleasure from penetration, that's okay. Like maybe you're feeling really connected, express that. Maybe you're feeling really like strong and empowered, express that. So be authentic, that would definitely help. Sorry. Coughing is so sexy.
Talking about sex and coughing and everything. That's good.
Oh my God. For men, the best thing you could do, compliment a woman.
Yeah, that's true.
That really just changes. That can change how a woman responds to you. Just a lot of compliments and reassuring, and you know, you look great, you smell great. Asking questions, like making it about her pleasure. I know my current sexual partner has a personal rule where he was like, he never orgasms until the woman orgasms first. Because he knows he'll get his. He knows that that's going to happen. Yeah. So it's like, before I get all wrapped up in me, let's focus on you. And then we can do me, and then afterwards I can come back to you if I want to. But in case I fall asleep, or in case I'm tired, or I have to go, I know that I made you a priority first. So make a woman a priority first. That's the book, She Comes First. Yeah. That's the principle of that. And I think that's the best thing you can do.
Absolutely. That's really good. Well, thank you so much for sharing all the advice. Like I said, I really like your opinions and your views on everything. It's sometimes it can be different from how I see things, but that's what's amazing. That's what's good about having these conversations.
I love debate.
Yes, me too. I absolutely love it.
Trust you, Alex. It was fast.
But you know, at the end of the day, I think you're right. You know, everything that you said, you're absolutely right. You know, it's really good for us women to explore our sexuality, and I think that it's amazing. Good for you that you have your sexual partner. I think it's really good. It's a great thing. Good for you.
You said it was good. I'll be like, hey, Alex said that good for us.
Yes, I did. Good for you guys. Congratulations. But that's really good. So thank you very, very much for being here with us today. Do you have something else to add before we end this conversation?
Well, I think very shortly I'm going to be selling my Vibrator Necklace, which is definitely something that I want every woman to own. It's just going to be a symbol of sexual pleasure, of normalizing the conversation around what works for women. I honestly believe that if we put female sexual pleasure at the forefront of our platform in life, it will change a lot. You know, it will change relationships. It will change world problems. It will stop hunger. It will control the population. Like, female sexual pleasure is definitely a high priority. And if you make it a priority for yourself, I wear it on my chest every single day to start the conversation. And I want to invite others to join the movement, buy the necklace, and do the same. So if you go to shannonteresa.com/contact, you can sign up for my newsletter, and I'll be talking about the launch of that product in the next coming weeks. And I'd love to have you guys all on there. And your ass better buy one, Alex. It's the least you could do for disagreeing with me.
I will, for sure, for sure. You let me know when it's going to be available, and I will be one of the first to get it. That's for sure. Okay. Wear it in the videos and everything.
It's important, so I have that.
Yes, exactly. You have that recording. So thank you very much for that. Also, people can go on your channel, Shannon Booty, I believe it is.
Shannon T. Boodram, just search like on my youtube.com/Shannon T. Boodram, or just search Shan Booty. That's all my social media feeds. And we can continue the dialogue. So thank you so much. I'm so grateful for this opportunity to talk about sex in an honest, cool way with a beautiful woman. And I cannot wait to see the conversation that your subscribers have about this.
Yes, absolutely. In the comment section down below, let us know what you think. Let us know what your opinions are. Would you be down to have a sexual partner also? You know, I would love to know that. If you're down for that, give it a like, give it a thumbs up, so that we'll know how many people, and also let us know in the comments section. So go subscribe to Shannon's channel. Also, you can subscribe to my channel. Well, if you're not subscribed already, of course, and get new videos every single Wednesday in English. Exactly. I like that. All right. Well, thank you so much again for your time, and hopefully we'll connect soon in person.
All right.
Perfect. Bye. Did you like this video? If so, here's 3 very simple things that I want you to do. First of all, subscribe to this channel. Subscribe to this channel because you get free videos every single week. So of course you don't want to miss that. The second thing that I want you to do is I want you to go on my website, AlexandraVillarroel.com, and subscribe also to my email list, because every week I send you content by email that you don't see here on AlexandraTV, but it's free content with coaching techniques, strategies, so you don't want to miss that either. And the third thing that I want you to do is I want you to share this video. Share it on social media, on Facebook, on Twitter, email it to a friend, or even call a friend and say you need to go watch this. As Maya Angelou once said, when you learn, teach. So everything that you learned today, make sure you share it and you teach it to someone. I look forward to seeing you next week for another episode of Alexandra TV. And until then, don't forget to love life, others, and yourself.